good evening. Welcome to Friday Nights with Emma from Swift Quilting Company. Hope everybody's okay this week. Nobody's affected by flooding, hopefully. Had some horrible storms, haven't we? So hopefully just give me a thumbs up or a little heart as usual, just to let me know that you're there. Yeah, this week I thought I would do something a bit different. So I'm not going to be sewing this week. I am going to be talking about threads and needles and how to use the right needle for the right thread and what the numbers mean and what the different needles are, what the different threads are, all of that. So kind of doing a going back to basics. Oh, hi Pam, hi Sarah, hi Sharon. Hi everybody, how is everybody doing? Yeah, it's been a good week. So, like I said, hopefully nobody's affected with floods. Oh, now, he knows now. I think we've been alright the last 2 or 3 weeks. I haven't disappeared. So him downstairs, he knows, you know, not to play the video games. But, oh, hi Diane. Oh, hi Pam. Oh, couldn't make it last week live, but here tonight. Yay! Good to have you here. Had a hope good, but yes, it was good. It was good. Hi Barbara. Hi Barbara. Yeah, so if I do disappear, just remember, just refresh the video and it'll come back. But hopefully we'll be all good tonight. So, hi Helen. Hello, hello, everybody. Yay. Hi Kathleen. Hi. Hi Linda. So, to recap, hi Dawn. Not going to be doing any sewing tonight. Hi Terry. But I will be talking about needles and threads. So the first thing about threads, and both of them actually, both needles and threads, is they have numbers. And, oh, hi Carol. Hi Leslie. Hi Hilary. Now what do the numbers mean? Oh, hi Diana. Nearly late was nibbling on pork crackling. Haven't had that for years. My nanny used to make good pork crackling. Yeah. Anyway, threads, numbers. What do they mean? So I was at the trade show this week, and I went to oh, you can see it backwards. My favourite stall, which is the Aurifil stall, and they gave me a lovely sample of Aurifil thread weights. And then what do these go to? So I've got from the thickest to the thinnest. So the thickest is number 12. The thickest is a number 80. Oh, hi Viv, hi Beverly, hi Susan, hi Irene. So what does that number mean? So I've got from 12 to 80. Well, with threads, how they come up with those numbers is they take a set amount of cotton or wool or whatever it is, whatever fibre it is that they're making that thread from. Oh, hi Joy. And say a kilogram or a pound, say kilogram. So they take a kilogram of whatever fibre that they're making this thread from and they spin it out. And depending on how far they spin it out, depends on what number they give that thread. Oh, hi Sue. So if I've got a kilogram of cotton, for instance, and I pull that thread out, spin that thread out so it's very fine, that's going to go a lot further. So I'm going to have a lot more thread because it's finer, even though I used just 1 kilogram, as compared to if I spin that thread out and have it quite thick, I'm not going to have quite as long a length of thread from that kilogram. So that's how the numbering on thread is based. So if you remember that, it's always based on, say, a kilogram or a pound of thread, and they spin it out. The thicker the thread, the shorter the length is that they're going to have. And the thinner the thread, the longer length they've got. So because the thicker thread is shorter, it has the smaller number, whereas the thinner thread has the higher number because they've been able to spin it out quite far. Oh, hi Lorcan, hi Joan, hi Maggie. So that's how you remember thread weights. The thicker the thread, the lower the number. The thinner the thread, the higher the number. Right. Now, to completely confuse things, needles go in the opposite direction. So the bigger the number, the thicker the needle. The lower the number, the thinner the needle it is. So I've got a few, before I go on to the different weights of thread, I just want to go over the needles. So I've got a Microtex, again, you'll see it backwards, but it's Microtex needles. And it goes from 60, yeah, you'll have to read backwards, 60 to 80. So my 60 needle is thinner than my 80 needle. And I don't know if you'd be able to see that on there, but that's how the needles go. So with thread, the higher the number, the thinner the thread, but with needles, the higher the number, the thicker it is. Yeah, so it's opposite. Oh, hi, Jen. Oh, thanks, I'm looking good. Hi, Maggie. Yes, had a nice day, thank you. Right, so I'm going to go back to threads. Let's see what I've got here. These are my Aurifil. I went through my drawers actually and all my tins in preparation for this and dug out some different threads, all the threads that I've got, and I've discovered I've got quite a thing for quilting thread. I mean, before I got my machine, everything was pretty much hand quilted, and I still love to hand quilt. So I have got probably about 10 different colours of quilting thread, but there's a theme. I tend to go for a particular one. So I've got Gutermann quilting thread. Now I'm starting with the quilting thread. Oh, hi, Carolyn. Oh yes, hand sewn needles are different again, that's true. Quilting thread, hand quilting thread. If I hear it coming out, it's quite thick. So hand quilting thread, it's quite a thick one, quite a strong one. So if I try and pull this apart, it takes a little bit of strength and it does dig into my fingers a little bit, but it's, yeah, you gotta get it just right there. It takes quite a bit, and that's because you're doing mostly running stitches, so you want a nice, good, strong hand quilting thread so that it keeps its integrity basically in that quilt, because you're just doing running stitches. There's not really any back stitches going on to help stabilize it. You've got to make sure that it's going to hold its own basically inside that quilt. It's a hand quilting thread. Different people have different preferences. So this is the one I tend to use. It's a little bit on the stiff side. You might be able to see if I hold it out. Yeah, it's not as soft as a lot of threads, insofar as it's a little bit stiffer, a tiny bit stiffer. A little bit, it feels a little bit it's waxed. Another one that I do use is the King Tut Superior thread, and this one is, I might be able to tell you, 40 weight. Well, the Gutermann, I looked and I couldn't find a number. Oh, hi Helen. It just calls it quilting thread, so it's just quilting weight thread for the Gutermann. That's what it's called. For the King Tut, it's a 40, and I haven't tried it yet, but I want to try the 40 weight in the Aurifil for hand quilting as well. But this one is King Tut, 100% cotton. Both of Gutermann is 100% cotton. This one is what I'd call a lot softer. I don't know if you can see, it's got a little bit more softness to it. It's not as stiff and as rigid as the other one. I like them both equally. Don't mind those. Let's see, what else have I got. Oh yeah, my good old standby. This is one I use in the long arm quilting machine, and this is a 50 weight Aurifil, so it's the orange one. They do them by colour, so you can see all these spools are by colour. Let me see, this orange one is the one that I use. It's a 50 weight. Yeah, because they're not totally in order. Yeah, that's 50. That's 40. That's that one. Oh, hi Christine. Hi Lorna. Oh, now this one's a little controversial. Anyway, this one's a polyester thread. Now, there's a lot of schools of thought of cotton for quilting, for piecing, should always be 100% cotton, and I tend to agree. But there are exceptions. So what have I got here actually? What's this? That's 100% cotton. Some of my piecing I have done with some polyester. Now the difference between polyester and cotton is strength and elasticity. So if I take my 50 weight Aurifil cotton, this is how you can really try them out. And I pull it apart. So if I pull it, I'm trying to see where you'll be able to see it. It's black. That might be there against my hair. It's really easy to pull. I'm just literally not taking much tool to pull that apart. You can see, you can hear it snapping. Now if I take this polyester, this is bottom line polyester. This one, you can see that it stretches a little bit before it breaks, so it's taking more to break it, and it's stretching. Oh, it's gone. It's stretching a little bit. Now some people like this for piecing because if you can see, it's quite fine. It is still strong, so it's still stronger than the cotton at the same weight. So this is closer to an 80 weight in cotton. If you piece with it, if you machine piece with it, the benefit of using this is that your seams won't be quite as bulky as using regular sort of 40 or 50 weight cotton. However, I find when machine piecing with this, you know, when you get to the end of your stitching, usually with cotton, the ends don't fray. The sewing doesn't fray too much because the cotton, there's enough friction on the cotton threads to sort of hold themselves together so that they don't fall apart. Whereas this is quite slippy. So I have pieced a quilt with this, but I found I had to be really careful. If you do use it, do a little lock stitch or a little backward stitch to lock in your seams at either end. In order to keep that from fraying. So that's one thing. The other thing is, because it has that bit of stretch in it, when you put it onto your bobbin, I recommend winding your bobbin at the lowest speed you can. A lot of people say to wind the bobbin at the same speed that you tend to sew, but for bottom line or for polyester, I recommend doing it slower because it's got that stretch. If you wind your bobbin really quickly, then it will incorporate, it will stretch a little bit, and then what you find is when you're piecing, you get puckers and you can't understand why is my sewing puckering, and it's because there's the tension on the bobbin is higher than what you've got on the top thread basically. So if you wind your bobbin on the slowest speed, it helps to eliminate any problems with the bobbin tension basically. Oh, hi Han. Love button wine used for EPP. Yes, that's the other thing. These are good. It's nice fine thread. It's very good for applique because you're literally, I think that's why I've got so much of this. I've found, it's gone now, I found about 3 or 4 spools of cream and white, and I've got the grey, and I've got a nice pink one as well. And yeah, I did applique with this because the stitches just disappear, and because it's a little bit stronger than the cotton, you can be assured that it's going to stay strong basically. The only problem I had again with this is when I use cotton, I tend to rub a knot into the bottom of it, of my thread, and then to finish off I just do maybe 3 or 4 back stitches into the same spot, and I know that's going to be secure. With this you really do have to tie it off because it's so slick. if you do a few stitches in the fabric to hold it in place, it can easily unravel because of how it is basically. So, oh, hi Enid. Oh, hi Sonia. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. It was good to meet you in your shop on Saturday. Oh, yay. You're welcome. Happy to see you. I'll be there again this weekend. Yep. Oh, hi Hilary. Information so you. Oh, good. Yeah, this is what I wanted to do, is just waffle on about threads and needles. So if you have any questions, please do throw them at me. Right, so that's bottom line. Let's see what else I want to say about threads. I will find it. There's a really handy dandy guide. I think it's Superior Threads that do it, about marrying up needles to threads. So I will post that because that's always really good to know. What else do I want to talk about? Before I move on to needles, I want to make sure I've covered threads. Let's see. Oh, the only other one. Now, I haven't tried this one. Well, I kind of did. I haven't super done it. So there's this thread, which a lot of hand quilters like, which I've never actually done a hand quilting like this. Oh, hi Jackie. Be at the shop. Yes. Good, good, good. I'll be there. This is the 12 weight of Orifil, and there are other ones. Pearlized cotton is another name for it. So I don't know if you can see up close. So it's quite thick. Using this for hand quilting is for when you want to make quite large, obvious stitches, which is part of the design really. It's, you know, it's another way of quilting. I tried it a little bit. So me and Dawn, right Dawn, we did it. You did it. I kind of watched. The only thing I didn't like was at the end it frays a little bit. So if you do run it off your needle, because you do have to have a slightly bigger needle than I would normally use for hand quilting, this is what I would normally use. I usually use Sharps, not necessarily this brand, but Sharps is what I use for quilting rather than betweens or a thicker needle. And that's just personal preference to me, because I like, it's a good length for me. I find the betweens, which are a shorter needle, I find that is really difficult to hang on to and to get any number of stitches on before I have to pull the thread through. With these I can rock the needle backwards and forwards and get about 3 good stitches, sorry, before pulling it through. Oh, hi Helen. I have a tin of threads from my nan from the 70s and 80s. Yes, I've been finding those too. I've heard that they perish. Is this true? Sadly, yes. I've probably got some cottons here that I probably shouldn't use, which were mine, I bought, but I probably shouldn't use them because they're probably a good 20 years old. But yeah, I found one actually. I think it was either my nan's or my great aunt's. So this is in my drawer. It is actually a plastic bobbin. It's not a wooden one, although I do have some wooden ones lurking around. Yeah, the best way to store threads, and there is a way to refresh them a little bit, you can, is to gently mist, not really wet them, but just put them in a humid atmosphere. So maybe actually put them in a Tupperware box and then layer at the very bottom some moistened like kitchen roll, not sopping wet, just moistened kitchen roll, just so it's damp on the bottom. Laying your threads in that and then putting it in the freezer for overnight. That can refresh them a little bit. And the reason that they perish is they dry out. So yeah, it's like most things, like rubber, when it dries out it cracks and perishes. It's the same sort of thing. So you might be able to refresh them, but I would recommend, if you're making something that you really care about, yeah, I would keep those threads from the 70s and the 80s and just keep them in a little box for reminiscing rather than actually using. Unless it's something you're not too fussed about, then you'll be fine. Let's see. Oh, you got some specialty ones. So I've got some metallic. Oh, you can't really see it's metallic. Some metallic gold, metallic copper, some metallic silver, which was really old as well, I think from the 90s, which I I did a very small bit of quilting on a little challenge quilt, worked fine for that. But you can get specialty needles from Metallics. So needles, this is your regular universal, good for most general piecing. Yeah, different sizes. What I tend to use for piecing, and again, it's a little bit trial and error, finding what works for you and your machine. So I tend to use Microtex. That's just what Schmet's company call these. They're called Microtex, they're sharps, quilting needles. Now these tend to be a little bit finer, a little bit finer than your universal ones, and the tips are pointier, and the needle thread hole is a little bit smaller than on universal. Now what all that adds up to is the sharp point helps for the needle to get in between the threads when it goes down of your fabric, rather than punching a hole through it if the threads are too thick. These Microtex ones are especially good for if you're sewing with batiks, lawns, things that are quite tightly woven. These are good. I also use sharps for when I'm free motion quilting or free motion doodling on my domestic machine, because it also helps to, it just seems to work better, is all I can say. Now, if you have trouble with your skip stitches, then I would say stick with a universal. If you get skipped stitches with your Microtex needle, stick with your universal. Reason for that, now I've learned all this because of the long arm. When your needle goes down, it is a combination of the strength of the needle, the how do I put it, the size of the hole on your needle plate, and also the pressure on the top to help put the needle down for the bobbin to catch the thread at the bottom, and then for it to pull through to actually make a stitch. So all of those things need to work in combination at the right, the correct stage, correct combination for it to actually make a stitch. Now if it's any of those are out of whack or isn't quite doing, so if your needle, the Microtex ones, what can happen is it can bend, and then the hook at the bottom doesn't quite get it, then it won't make a stitch basically. So what I recommend is having a play and finding what works best for you. I think we tend to get in a, looking at the threads I've got, tend to get in a rut. You tend to stick with something that works. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But yeah, have a go and play around with some of these things. You might find they actually work a lot better, especially for like the free motion quilting or doodling, because I did it, first time I did it, I looked off YouTube and they're like, yeah, you just put it in, you just do, yeah. And it was not working for me like that at all. And then I went to a class with Philippa Naylor, and she had all these tips and tricks of threads to use, needles to use. Oh, have I got it somewhere? Oh yes, Sewer's Aid. This is like a little silicone smoothing, not an oil, it's like almost like a, not a balm, it's liquid. It's kind of like an oil, but it's not an oil, that you can put on your thread to help it go through your machine better. So what I do is, this is your thing, your spool. If you have this on your machine, especially if you're free motion quilting and you're having trouble with it being jammed or something like that, what I do is get some of this Sewer's Aid, which I need to find a source for. And literally, you just draw a bead. So I just draw a line down the side so that your thread catches it. If you can see that, see how, yeah, you can kind of see that. literally just draw a line down the side like that, and it will just help to smooth that all through. It sort of helps it glide through all your tracks of your thread through your machine. Oh, hi Sue. Oh, sorry Pam. Let me see. I tend to use quilting needles when piecing, but a top stitch one when quilting on my hand machine. Seems to work fine. Good tip, good tip. You'll also find different brands call things different names. I think, did I say that? So a top stitch on one brand might be called something else in another. So these Schmetz call these Microtex, but I can't remember what the other brands ones are to marry them up. But some of the other names are quilting needles, and Sharps is another one. So the top stitch one, what my point was, the top stitch needle, you might find that it's not called a top stitch needle in a different brand. It might be called something else. That's just my point. Oh, hi Dawn, I'm getting skip stitches with a ballpoint needle. I think I'm sewing on my, okay. That, we need to talk about threads as well. So jersey needles, ballpoint. So jerseys are the same thing. They're called jerseys or stretch or ballpoint. And how a lot of these needles differ is in the bottom part. So they're either pointier, or like the ballpoint or the jersey have a rounded bottom. Not obvious, because if you still feel the needle, it still feels sharp to your finger, but it is not as sharp and pointy as a regular needle. Thread hole size can be different depending on the needle, and then the actual thickness of the needle is different as well. So Dawn will have to investigate that next time I see you as to why that's happening and figure out the threads. Oh, hi Pam, you use Organ brand. Yeah, good. The other thing about jersey, and this is a good example, I'm wearing this cardigan so I can show you guys, because it's one of my favourite cocoon cardigans, one of the first ones I made. And the jersey that I've used is Roma Ponte. Really nice, really soft, really drapey. It's Italian. I have to admit, it was super cheap. Well, super cheap. It was about £4 a metre. Yeah, so yeah, pretty cheap, but lovely, really lush. But not knowing how to sew a jersey, I just kind of went in a bit blind. I mean, I kind of knew, yeah, jersey needle, did all that, but the thread I used wasn't really suitable for this. So I always recommend, if you're going to sew jersey, and on your machine, I don't care what Esme from Sewing Bee says, you can sew jersey on your machine, use polyester. Now the reason for that is because the jersey obviously has a bit of stretch in it, and especially this fabric, which is, it has a lovely drape, but it can be a little bit heavy, so the seams get a little bit stressed. What the polyester will do when you sew with jersey is, because it has that little bit of stretch and it's a bit stronger, it can withstand a little bit more of the stresses on the seams. What you don't want to use is a not very strong cotton, as you can see, because any stresses on the seams, then your thread snaps and you get holes in your seams, which, yeah, now I can't really wear this cardigan out. You can see, yeah, see my shoulders? It's a bummer. So I might have to re-sew it and see if that helps to fix it. But yeah, otherwise, you know, everywhere else I've sewn is fine. It's just shoulders, and then yeah, where it's, and I heard it snap, so I could hear it snapping. But yeah, oops, live and learn. So this is why I do the mistakes, so I can teach you how not to do them. Anyway, what else? Going back to threads. Oh, hand needles. Let me think. One thing you can do, hand sewing, or hand quilting rather, and hand piecing, which I don't have it here. I did have one. Anyway, I'm rambling. Beeswax or Thread Heaven, which is a little thread conditioner. that you can run your thread through. Beeswax works great though. So what you do is you just run your thread through the beeswax about 2 or 3 times, and it helps to strengthen that thread making. So if you want to hand quilt something and you don't necessarily have the color that you want in a hand quilting thread, but you do have it in a lighter weight thread, that's one way you can get around it. So in the past, when I've absolutely needed to use a lighter weight thread for hand quilting, what I've done is use the beeswax. If it's a really fine thread, I might double it, but that's only in extreme cases. But yeah, single thread, run it through the beeswax 2 or 3 times to give it nice and strengthened. I would use a shorter length of thread to quilt with than I would normally use on a hand quilting thread. So usually on a hand quilting thread I do sort of an arm's length, sort of tip of the finger to elbow sort of length. But yeah, there's that. What else? Oh, thimbles. Definitely use thimbles. Oh, hi Chloe. Oh, hi Pam. What thread do you use in an overlocker? Ah, good question. So it varies. So the stitches that get made on an overlocker are inherently a little bit stretchier, and you've got a lot of threads in there. So I have known people, and I have done it myself, who use just moon thread, which is cheap and cheerful, cotton, not very strong. If you look at it, I mean, I can see just looking at it, it's quite fuzzy. You can see it's quite fuzzy. When you open a cotton thread up, you'll be able to see just by looking at it, there's like lots of little wispy threads coming off the thread itself. Oh, hi Martina said, thread if it's been, oh, it's been made, oh, thread magic. Is it different? Is the actual substance different? That's what we need to know. And is it still in the nice little blue box? Because yeah, it's gonna be disappointing if it's not. Nothing better than a brand new box of thread heaven, never been used before, because you know how grotty it gets after a while. But yeah, brand new one is nothing like it. Oh no, what aurifil weight is best for hand quilting? Ah, good question. Oh wait, let me finish this question up. So yes, that's moon. The one that I use, oops, let me see if I can reach it. Ah. There, this is the one that I use. So it's maxi lock. You can't see because it's backwards. All purpose spun polyester. Let me see if I've got one open. No. Now this is a funny thread. Super stretchy, super soft. So when you have those seams on the inside, it's not uncomfortable against your skin. So I'm trying to find my jack to open this up. And I've never had a problem with this thread breaking or causing any issues when I've used it in my overlocker. Oh, hi Brenda. Hi Laurie. Come on. Oh, maybe it's not the same. Oh, yeah, this is not the same as when I was thinking of. This is just a regular thread. Bear with me. Ah, this is the one. That one will still work, but this is the one. Now this is Maxi Lock Stretch, soft like yarn, and the other one was Maxi Lock All Purpose. That's the difference. So this is the one that I really like, and I'll show you. And I tend to get this off Amazon. Hey, we'll get there. We'll get there. Ah, there. Yes, the only problem with this one, I will warn you, you do need a needle threader. It's best. So if I show you the end of this, you can see how thick it is. It is actually just like a little bit like wool coming off, and it's a little bit thicker. So it's a little bit like, if I can, yeah, you can pull it apart. It is still strong and works really well. You can see how that it's coming apart. It's a little bit like, it's not spun. It's a little bit like roving, but it's super strong. If I show you, yeah, it takes a lot to break it. So yeah, that's what I like. And it's super soft, so it makes really nice on the seams. It's not like bulky and uncomfortable. So that's that. So that's that one. Oh, we went back Aurifil thread. Now I need to test this, the Aurifil hand quilting. What I'm going to try, so I talked about it earlier. We've got the 12 weight, which a lot of people like, which would work perfectly fine. It's quite strong. It's, yeah, it takes a lot to break that one, but it's quite thick, so you'll need a bigger needle. What I'm going to try, because I think it would work, is the 28. So I'm going to have to try this, because it's a little bit more like the quilting thread that I tend to use. Don't worry, I'm not using my fabric scissors, I'm just sticking a hole in it. Yeah. So Lorna, I think this is the one I'm going to go for. I'm going to try this. 28 weight. I've got a quilt weighting. Feels nice and strong. Yeah, takes quite a bit to break it. I think I will run it through the beeswax once or twice just to make sure. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to try for. I'll let you know. I'm going to give it a go. Perfect. Hi Brenda. Hi Martina. Don't think it's much different. Oh, you've gone away. Yeah, don't think it's much different, but the box. Oh, yes, the thread heaven, thread magic. I love. Oh, the box's shape has changed. See, I don't mind change normally, but when it's my favourite product, we'll see. I'll just see if there's any at the Festival of Quilts and give it a try. See how it's doing. Yeah, love square box. Hi Christine. Oh, hi Laurie. Lovely to see you too. Oh, hi Shirley. I was told not to use glide thread for piecing, but my machine loves it. It doesn't play up. Am I wrong? No. If it works for you, you know my philosophy. There's no right or wrong way, only the way that works for you. So if it works for you, go for it, girl. So yeah, definitely. Not a problem. I think we get too hung up on rules, like, oh, it must be this. No, if it works, it works. Can't argue with that. So, hi Anne. Yeah, like glide thread. Yeah, which is... So this is the bottom line, and I'll admit, okay, so I got bottom line because it's a little bit cheaper. You get a bit more on it. So you can get bottom line and top line. So bottom line technically is supposed to be used in your bobbin, and then top line is for the top thread, but I use it in both. And yeah, works really well for free motion. The only thing about it for free motion, even though it works like a dream, because it's so fine, the finish that you get, so the stitch that you get, is quite a fine one, which, depending on what your preference is for quilting, you may want to try a thicker one if you can, but I found that. So this and Microtex needles and a glide mat for the base of the machine are what I found worked for me for free motion on my machine. So that's the tricks for that. That's from Philippa Naylor. Oh, hi Janet. Lorna weight. 28 weight. Thank you. Yes, 28 weight. That's the one I'm going to try. And I think it's going to be a good substitute, because I do love Aurifil. Oh, which I also found out is not called Aurifil. That's not how you pronounce it. It's Aurifil. It should be Aurifil. So yeah, it's a combination of their name and filo, which is thread in Italian, except they took the O off. So it's fil, like the French way. So yeah, Oh, hi Brenda, have you used glide thread for the past 2 years? Love it. Yes, yes, it is nice. It, for piecing, like I said, it does reduce that bulk, especially I would say would be good for miniatures because they're so small pieces. But yeah, I do recommend doing either a lock stitch or backwards and forwards at the beginning and end of each pieced bit, because I found when I used it, it unraveled really easily, so I had to be really careful when pressing and opening up my seams and things, because the seams came apart at the edge. But yeah, so let's see what else. Oh, thimbles. Did I leave my thimbles? Yes, thimbles. Now, for hand quilting, hand piecing, thimbles, I'm sorry ladies, quilters, chaps, thimbles are a must, because there's no way, a thimble of some sorts you're going to need, because your finger is just going to be torn to shreds if you try sewing without one. Now, you don't have to use one like this. This is the one I like. I'm going to show you. So the one I've got, so you can see there's a little divot in the top. So I especially like that for hand quilting, because my needle, if I can find, what did I do with them? I've chucked them down somewhere. Oh, no. Oh, here they are. I found them. Right. So go up to my sharps. So for hand quilting, so you see the needle, I put it in the bottom of that ridge. You can see, yeah. And then I use that too. So I'll put it in the needle and then use that to push it along, and that ridge helps it keep it there. Whereas this other one, which I think, I don't know, came in a cracker or something, or one of those cheap little sewing kits, like emergency sewing kits. This is the one. See, it's completely smooth over the top. Now, that would work okay for hand piecing, because I find that I use the sides of my thimble, but even so, the little dimples in it are quite shallow, so there isn't really anywhere for the needle to take purchase on the thimble. It just slides off. So if you're testing out thimbles and you can't get along with one, just see which kind you've got and just try a different kind. This is another one. I don't like these quite so much, although I started out with one of these. Same thing, you've got a nice ridged bit in the end, and then some nice deep grooves along the side. This one is a little bit heavier than this one. I find these quite light and light, because your finger gets sweaty and icky if you don't get the right one. So yeah, or you can get the little sticky pads, or you can get the ones that are leather, or you can get the ones that are plastic and open on one side. Just try out thimbles is all I can say. Find one that works for you and find out how to use it. Oh, Pam, my westerly rule of recompense glide, yes, it is really nice, especially for the machine quilting part. When you're moving around, I don't know, I tried all sorts, because you know, you go on YouTube and they're like, yeah, let's threw this thread in, and it's like, yeah, I just got these feathers going on, and yeah, it didn't work for me until I met Philippa, and then she told me all the tricks, and then now I actually enjoy doing a little bit of free motion quilting on my domestic machine. So yeah, I think that's it for tonight. What time is it? Oh, it's 9:15 already. That went quick. That went really quick. Okay, so next week I will get back to the temperature quilt. I was hoping to do that tonight, didn't work out, but I want to go over adding, now that we've got, you know, a month passed and a little bit more, we started thinking about how we want to lay them out, as in what design we want ultimately. I want to do some sashing around my London one. So it's sashing, it's kind of a border, a mini border, so I can do my next row around it. And then for the Tellington one, it will be sorry, sashing in between the long strips rows. But I want to show you how, because for for the flying geese, when you've got lots of strips together or regular shapes, it is important to line them up a little bit. So there is just a simple trick, just marking basically, but making sure you got it right so that all your flying geese are on the same level, or that they're not like all skew-if. Unless you want them to be all skew-if, then that's a design choice we can go with as well. So yeah, so oh, hi Irene, thank you. Have a good weekend. Everybody stay safe. Oh, thanks Martina. Glad you liked the video. Hopefully we'll have a better weekend weather-wise this weekend than we have had in the past. So yeah, you guys enjoy. Have a great weekend. Lots of sewing. Oh, if you guys have done any rag quilts from last week, yeah, show me some pictures. If not, we'll catch up next Friday with the temperature quilt and adding sashing and how we're putting those together. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and I will see you next week.